Dun, 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 dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to another edition of the Fandalorians. I'm Darren Jakes.
I am a washed out. I don't know who this guy is. He shaved, then he cut his hair. I think he used to be Rob, but I know that who that guy is though.
Me, I am going to put together a tribe after I have been redeemed in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore. Now it is my task to bring the fandom back together. I'm Don Blake, by the way.
Don, I gotta say, with the glasses there, especially, you look like more like Macho Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Dig it.
Yeah. Sorry, old wrestling reference for those who did not understand what the heck I just said. Hey everyone, we've got
Snap it to a womp rat.
We got chapter 21 today to deal with. The Pirate, everyone's favorite episode because it's pirates and we can all say arg. Anyway, I'm really curious, however, how you guys were thinking about this particular episode, because I'm kind of a little ups and downs. Mostly overall, I have to say I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think there was some great action. I think there was some great bits in there. There were some down points, maybe an execution that just felt a little funky with me. We'll get into those specifics. They're tiny gripes. But I'm really curious how you guys thought about this week's episode. The pirate going back to Navarro to save High Magistrate Grief Karga. Rob, what about you?
Well, I mean, we said we had heard that they were going to go the pirate route for at least what felt like something like we were talking about a longer arc. I think maybe not. I think maybe this is kind of the big pirate episode, and maybe there'll be some more, but it feels like at least the threat of that isn't looming too large when the larger plot is taking shape now, all the way in episode 5. So we got 3 episodes left after this to get to some kind of hopefully point to what all this was for. Like I said, I still think it's going to end with everybody taking off their helmets and a mythosaur, somebody riding a mythosaur. I don't know. But I was just happy to see a straightforward, pretty much story. It is moving the plot forward. There are some interesting elements to this. I like them continuing with our X-Wing pilot. Him being a little bit of a detective here, being a little bit of a, guy who's looking out for the people who no one's looking out for. That kind of thing. And there's really not much to say about Grogu or even Din Djarin too much in this episode. It's pretty much just it felt like a good Clone Wars episode. Where they just drop in and these random characters are in there and it's like, battle on Navarro, the Jedi are nowhere around, but Grief Cargo is called the Mandalorian. So no, it's fine. It was fine. It didn't blow my skirt up or anything, but it looked good. It sounded good. It was, it was what I would want from this show all along. So,
right on. Don, what about you? How'd you think about this week's episode?
This week on Bo-Katan.
Oh, okay.
But sorry, and that wasn't even What I actually meant to say, in this week's finale, in the season finale of Bo-Katan, A Hero's Journey, our heroine finally got her magnificent quest to become Mandalore. Yeah, look, I liked the episode for the most part, but I've been hearing complaints from people about the direction or lack thereof when it comes to this story, and the fact that they feel as though Din Djarin is now a secondary character in his own series. And I mean, hey, let's face it. This this season it definitely has become the Bo-Katan show.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, I think that Bo-Katan was one of those characters that most people probably would have despised in the beginning, um, from the Clone Wars, not so much from the Mandalorian. Uh, but she has definitely done a 180, I think, for a lot of people, and has become a fan favorite to a certain extent. So
Sure.
now you have this thing where she's being spotlighted more, and could this lead to a spinoff? Who knows? But obviously, this is going to lead to a civil war at some point, because you know she's still got to have the sword, because at the end of the day she never actually fought to become Mandalore. It was handed to her. So, um, but that aside, I like the stuff with New Republic and them planting the seeds for the First Order.
Right.
Obviously, they're not mentioning it by name, but just with the actions that you see. Um, I liked the back and forth between Elia Kane and our New Republic Ranger. You know,
Carson Tiva, yeah.
yes, and I liked the fact that they showed the difference in someone who, and I was talking to someone about this earlier. There are three levels of kind of generational things going on right now with this story,
Hmm.
because you have the people who were alive before there was the Empire during the Old Republic. You have those who only know the Empire and have grown up with it, and now are kind of like, all right, well, I like the way the Empire did things, and you guys have kind of ruined that. And then you have the people who grew up with the Empire, but maybe there's still a reverence for the Republic from, you know, people of a past generation talking about what it was like before that. And now, they're sitting here kind of almost in limbo, where it's like, I heard about how the old Republic was so great. I didn't like being under the Empire, but the New Republic ain't what my parents told me about. And
Disillusionment, yeah.
and now you have that culture clash being highlighted, because here are two people who were on opposite sides of the war, but also you can tell Carson Teva, he's an older gentleman, you know, and Elia Kane looks like she's maybe in her 30s,
Yeah.
right? So think about it. These are people who are from two different generations, where one actually was around before there was an empire, back when it was the Republic, probably, saw clone troopers, maybe heard about Jedi back then, depending on, like, if he was in a core world or versus the outer rim, who knows,
Sure.
right? But then you have Elia Kane, who's someone who obviously grew up in a time where there was only the Empire, and now she's been in that position of being in the Empire. She's been indoctrinated into this system and in this way of life, and that's what she's about. But now she's seeing where things are going wrong to a certain extent, and she's like, no, I want the old thing back.
Right.
Um, yeah. So you know what? I'm so sorry. I've taken up so much time right now. Just I'm to
Well,
me,
no.
even though this, sorry, I just real quick,
Yeah.
I will say, even though this story didn't move the goalpost like a crazy amount. Obviously, there was information that we got in it, and there was a lot of subtext. There was a lot of subtext that was thrown in terms of uh, character motivations, political machinations, and just philosophical differences that were highlighted. And I'm sorry, that it took me for it took me somewhere just thinking about all of the little ins and outs that I don't know if people actually really picked up on.
No, I think that's great. In fact, Fangirling was mentioning that in the chat right now, that that was a great point on the generational thing, because you're right. It's not something that is really brought up much in this. And Carson is definitely from an age that must have been born and even has memory of, you know, the old Republic, and then surviving through the Empire, and now is with the rebellion. Um, is a very interesting point of view that I don't think they've really dived into a whole lot. It's always talking about Empire days or post Empire days. We rarely get that kind of reference all the way back. Um, well, let's stick with Carson, because the opening bit isn't a whole lot. It's just Grief Karga going, yes, maybe we should move things around, being the planet leader, and then Gorian Shard showing up and attacking the pirates. So we can jump back to that if we want, but let's talk about Carson. We can go through his whole bit, because he does have kind of an interesting journey in this. Primarily, I want to bring that up because we had, in my mind, one of the best cameos we've ever had in a Star Wars, and that is the appearance of Zeb from Star Wars Rebels, right there with Carson, and an awesome looking Zeb. I thought the animation, they put in the money, they put in the time to make this character look right. It was perfect. I had to stop, and I'm like, that looks like Zeb. That voice sounds like, so it was a wonderful kind of like big Rebels fan moment. And as we know that we've already got Ahsoka, and we're going to be doing Ezra, and Sabine Wren's coming in. To me, that teases I would love to see a Sabine. Now that we're seeing, anyway, that was kind of a great moment that I really wanted to be sure to point out, because I think for any big fan, come on, you guys have been waiting to that surprised the heck out of you. Nobody was expecting Zeb to show up in the middle of Mandalorian.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, and it's just there, no build up, no nothing. You just go, oh, it's one of those. There's not many of those. It couldn't be. Nah. Oh, my voices. Well, I mean, do they kind of sound similar? Do they all kind of sound? Wait a minute, they were really going with that. Hey, that's him. I think that's him. That's fucking him. Like, that's basically my journey. I was just like, wow. It was so nice that it just to just be there, no context. It just did what it needed to do, which was answer the question of, for people that are Rebels fans, is this guy?
Oh no!
Oh no!
What a place to. Okay, folks. Rob is dealing with tornado warnings right now. The
Spun
power
out for me.
Okay, he's back. I was just about to
Everybody
explain.
else disappeared too.
Oh man!
We just saw you stuck like this.
Could you hear me?
No, you were just frozen. It was a great little.
For how
pose,
long?
actually.
What was the last thing you heard?
5 seconds.
Man, we were in the middle of. I'm sorry. That was so just jarring that I forgot.
We were just talking about the Zeb's appearance on that, and that
that it was like that it was just so subtle and without context. We didn't have to like know anything. It was the show telling us that what we wanted to know. Like, are these characters still around? Are they okay? He seemed okay. He seemed great. Like, not like his character who was like really struggling a lot with a lot of things. He seems balanced. He seems like he's found his place. And it says all that without telling us. You know, and my journey, I don't know if you heard my journey, which was, did you get to where it was like, oh my God,
Oh yeah, we got
Okay.
your journey part.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
And in
just
fact,
Okay.
that we
All
lost
right.
in
you.
fact,
Well,
yeah.
no, it's just that's how you can do things. You know, like it shows that they're capable of doing these little nuanced little things without, shoving it down your throat and making it like, why is this here? Now we don't care why it's there because it just they
Well, I
just
think
did it right.
yeah, well, I think that's it. That was kind of the perfect way to do a cameo for those people that know the character. You get that little journey that Rob just showed us, just that slow build, and oh my god,
I went
if
into
you
another dimension.
if you don't, it doesn't matter. You're just like, oh, here's a cool alien, a very well rendered alien, maybe you might think, compared to some of the other bug-eyed looks of creatures in this episode. But I think that was it. It was very subtle, and it didn't bring out or say anything. He didn't even say his name, which was kind of perfect. Don, any thoughts on Zeb here?
I mean, well, look, I became a big Rebels fan in the last like 3 seasons, and seeing Zeb, it was like, oh wow, okay, so they did that. Okay, like I like when the Mandalorian, just puts things out there. Like even when we got Luke Skywalker,
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those things where it's like, yes, they did that, and think about it, no one on the ship even knew his name, right? So they never mentioned Luke, they never mentioned Zeb, and I think that obviously this is another part of setting up the breadcrumbs for the Ahsoka show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we got Ahsoka, we got Zeb, we know we're gonna get Ezra. I mean, we saw the Purgle a couple episodes ago, right? So this is all future setup, but it's not being shoved in your face like, look, has anyone seen the people from the Ghost Crew? Hey, we've got to find, we got to find Sabine. And we got like, no, they're not doing any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, hey, everyone's going about the course of their regular day, and it just so happened that these two characters met, and they had something in common. It's not a thing of, okay, well, how do we shoehorn this character into the entire plot or anything like that? No. Uh, and yeah, Lucky apparently enjoyed the episode as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we always like to be sure to get Lucky's opinion on the shows. Um, well, yeah, and with him being there, it does kind of give you that idea of what they're basically using Carson for. Is we still have a younger New Republic. It's stretched out thin. It's got a lot of space to cover, a lot of worlds to cover, not necessarily a whole lot of people, though at least everybody in those shots was all just chilling out and playing pool and doing their things. Um, so that's one thing I do kind of like about Carson is, one, he's a continual character that we've seen. He is representative of, the New Republic that cares, trying to reach out and be there. And maybe Don, like you were kind of referring to the fact that he is an older person who might remember the old Republic. He wants to be part of that. To him, it's an additional kind of like offering an olive branch out there. The only thing that really bothers me with this whole sequence, and it's part of the pacing and execution of this episode, I think it wraps up perfectly here, is the concept of distance and time really has been completely thrown out, because we have an outer rim world calling wherever Carson is, um, calling for help. He's got to try to reach Coruscant. Instead, flies out there, which is definitely a core world, and then is able to have a whole meeting, fly back, find Mando and the covert wherever they are, in time for them to have a discussion, plan a meeting, and then fly back out to Navarro, and all in the span of what appears to be maybe a couple of hours, at least as we see uh, Grief and the rest of the town folk out on the lava flats. It doesn't seem like they've been out there that long. They've just again, it's a small little execution thing, but to me, it's just a bummer because distance and time and getting there is a great source of tension and worry and story and concern. And now it's almost like, well, we've got to get our pieces and action figures all together at the right time. So it just happens. And of course, Game of Thrones in its final few seasons was definitely found to be very guilty of everybody wearing jetpacks apparently to get around. And again, it's a small complaint, and I wanted to kind of get it out of the way so I could.
It's a small complaint to a bigger problem, though, which is that this season's a mess plot-wise. If they had managed this whole thing better, we wouldn't be having to race people all over the place.
Yeah,
try to connect the dots and bring people together. If they hadn't wasted an episode right at the beginning, if they hadn't wasted part of an episode with another story that really didn't need to be there, no matter how much we might like it technically, there's just been a lot of mismanagement in this plot-wise in this season. So that's not us. It's just a symptom of a bigger problem, which is what the hell is this season outside of, like, people will go, it's the boat, like it's the Mandalorians finding their way back together, but they're just doing it in such a strange way.
Yeah, that's exactly that's eloquently put. There is an efficiency issue. Like, I'm surprised that Grief didn't just call Mando like, hey man, can you help a guy out, help a friend out?
But there would have been a time where that would have just been an episode. He went to see his friends. They talked about IG. The pirates come. They have the fight. They leave. Pirates come back. Mando calls the other Mandalorians. They come last minute. They have the same speech. There, they get the message. The guy gets to give the speech. And then they still come anyway. There it is. Like, it's one episode. That's what would have happened on the Clone Wars if this was a Clone Wars episode. It would have all been tightly wound, and it would have taken us 22 minutes. So it's just simple structure and planning and plotting right. And it's a problem that, that people have been bringing up about Star Wars for a while, but not really knowing where you're going, what you're doing, and how you're getting there.
Sure. Well, we've got to have our scenes and our people together. Again, you got to have the action figure stands up and the shots and all that. Yeah. So that's really kind of my big complaint. I think overall, and like you said, I think it is one of those endemic of this particular season, is just that it seems to meander more than it needs to. There is a feeling of a focus issue. And again, while Carson's journey is great, as we were talking about, the shot with him and Kia and the argument of, should we be able to go out and help them or should we not? Is it too much resources? Is it not? You would think that the Republic would want to help non-aligned worlds in a way to pull them into the fold. Hey, yes, we offer you help. You asked for it. Now you'll come in. We bring you a little closer. We have allies. This obviously is a New Republic that's just, well, we're focused on our own right now, which may say a lot about how the First Order finds its way back in, as the New Republic is too focused on its own world and not enough about the independent systems.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I just did.
Screw those people, independent. No. All right. So, any other thoughts, kind of on the whole Carson bit? We can save the almost post-credit scene until the end. But any other final thoughts on Carson's bit and what's going on with the New Republic there?
No.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So look, what I will say for me, what I think about the New Republic stuff, again, there was a lot of showing different philosophies and how all of that plays into what they decide to do or not do,
Mhm.
and set a lot of it is setting up stuff for the future. Because look, let's be honest here. The sequel trilogy was a mess, and they are having to try to justify a lot of that through retconning, which they're doing through the Mandalorian currently, and possibly into the Ahsoka show and whatever else that they pick up.
Mhm.
So you see them laying the breadcrumbs and the groundwork for the First Order, but unfortunately, sometimes it seems as though it's really taking away from the main story. Because we still don't have a proper villain. We're four episodes in, and still no. Wait, hold on. 4 episodes? Or we five? Five.
Five episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, we finally get a hint of maybe who may be the villain at the
right.
end,
But
but
I'm
yeah.
like, look, for all of Game of Thrones flaws, uh, you knew who the villain of the season was by like episode 2 max. You know, episode 5, and we're still like, okay, is there a villain of the season, or we're still trying to figure that. Okay, wait, which one of these is the main? I thought Din Djarin was the Mandalorian, but apparently, since we have other Mandalorians, this will become a sort of mixed anthology series.
A Mandalorian.
Yeah. So like I said, on the season finale of Bo-Katan, because I honestly don't think that we're going to see her the rest of this season unless they start doing more time jumps. In which it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I've been to these 20 different outer rim systems or whatever, and I was able to gather up like at least half of the Mandalorians to come and retake the planet. But if you guys still want to stay on Navarro, you can. But then you and I are gonna have to fight for this saber so then I can go and tame the mythosaur and become greatest Mandalore of all time. Uh, like I don't see all of that happening this season, so I think that they're probably gonna. I think this was probably Bo-Katan's last episode for the season.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
See,
Now, see, he opened it up now, didn't he? Just like he had to, like, so now we're like, just because we were talking about the First Order thing and, them doubling down and trying to make justifications. And that is so disappointing because it makes me think about, like, okay, so they're gonna bring back, characters like Edgar Bridger, and we've got the Mandalorian and we've got Grogu,
sure.
but we know that the First Order's coming, and we know they didn't, they weren't sneaking in cameos of these characters in the latest trilogy, so you'd go, oh yeah, that was, they were in there, that one background scene or something. Makes me worry about the future for these characters that I actually like, and not a bunch of characters that they're planning on creating just as they continue down this road of whatever they're doing. It makes me feel like there's an expiration date on my fandom for new Star Wars stuff.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
of this, I mean, I know, and that's just a personal thing, guys. This
sure.
is not.
They've
It's
got
just opening
20
up like a
plus
personal
years though,
thoughts.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
they should
mean,
have time.
I'll always have Empire, or whatever you want to do it. Like, I'll always have the things I love. I don't have to carry on. Like, it's nice if you can keep liking something, but it really is starting to feel like it's just starting to just distance itself from me, and I'm actually kind of distancing myself too, like just kind of slowly backing off a little bit on Star Wars, a little by little, as each thing comes out. Although I got to admit, the Bad Batch in 8 episodes. Watch the first 8 episodes of the Bad Batch. You will, and you'd be like, "What Mandalorian? Who Mandalorian? What?" Because that show in 8 episodes has been amazing.
Yeah.
And it's from the same people, Filoni and them. So okay, we're getting off. I'm getting off topic now. So it's just becoming
Focus
like
is
a whole
important.
the
Yes.
future of all this. But this is what brings it up. Like we open up what we take one thought and it just opens up a ton of other ones sometimes. So yeah.
Well, I want to get to the Mandalorian story. I do have to make the one comment, and I mean, you guys all know this, but just for people in the back that may not realize, there's ridiculous theories out there that the sequel trilogy is going to be retconned and not because it wasn't successful or it wasn't as big as the earlier trilogies. That's never going to happen. This is the trilogy that Disney owns. These are the characters that Disney owns. It is not going to get rid of it for film rights, films that they technically have rights to play, but not really stories and stuff. You don't see a lot of the old guard in with the new Disney stuff because they want to focus on their own characters. So the sequel trilogy isn't going to go anywhere. But at least in movie timeline, we have 20 plus years between where we kind of are with Mandalorian and when the sequel trilogy happens to have tons of storyline that doesn't have to even worry about touching or dealing with any of that stuff if they don't want to. So we still got plenty of room for some great storytelling. The connective tissue is what it's all about. And of course, the connective tissue apparently for Carson finding the Mandalorian covert is R5, who, as far as I know, has been on Tatooine for over a decade plus. Didn't really know that he was anywhere in the rebellion. Also, why not just use him as a radio to contact? Because, you know, that mine's getting wiped in a heartbeat. As soon as Carson flies off, that droid's memory is no more. Half the wiring's going to be gone.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That just kind of annoyed me. I know I said I had that
like they're pen pals or something. Like,
I mean, in some ways it's a cool throwback, but it's one of those that becomes less cool the moment you think.
But see, that's how you don't. That's how you point out something that's like, honestly, nobody really even noticed. You know what I mean? Like, was he? Oh yeah, because he was in the first movie. Somebody eventually threw him in a, X-wing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, whatever. Why?
He wasn't built for adventure. That's how we were
How
introduced
did you find
to
him? Like, if he said somebody in your midst, it could have been. It just could have been a better way. Like, it would have been better if it was Grogu. Just like looks at everybody like, what?
Or just the N1's receiver starts beeping and it's a message from Carson saying, hey, I got this from Grief for last time you were here when we talked. Whatever connection that they might want to make up there, this is where it is. Or anyway, again, I like the characters coming together, but it's also clunkily done. But it does get us to our big discussion. The Mando pitch to the covert of why we should go help Grief. I mean, pretty expected. The one thing I did really like about this scene, I gotta say, Paz Vizsla stepping up, doing the expected we shouldn't do this, and instead pulling out the why are we gonna do it? Because we're Mandalorians, damn it! This is the way. Go, go, go! Because he looks like a football player.
He helped my son out one time,
and I'm really glad about that. Now, this may be a Vizsla move within a move or something in order to get in a position to do something else for his advantage later on. Fine, whatever. I just like the fact that this is not a continued grudge thing, and they've shown that he has recognized that Din has helped and Bo has helped. So there's a reason for his allegiance, at least at the moment. And I like when they follow through with stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was seemed kind of weird at first. I mean, well, first off, them using the hammer from the Forge as kind of like the talking stick. You know, when the rest of the Mandalorians, kind of especially like, no, I got the stick. You gotta listen. I got the stick. Shut up.
You don't have the talking hammer. I have the talking hammer. Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting to see, because I mean we've never really seen that as part of Mandalorian culture. So I love the fact that little by little we get to see just how different these Mandalorians are from the ones that we met back in Clone Wars. Yeah, so that was cool. And then again, Paz Vizsla, who started off cool in the first season when he comes down with the big Gatling gun and helps Din Djarin. Hey, I got you, brother.
Yeah.
And he's flying next to Din's next to the Razor Crest. Din is like, man, I got to get one of those jetpacks. And then he kind of became at least an antagonist. I wouldn't say enemy, but he became at least an antagonist in the Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of an antagonist in the beginning of season 1 of Mandalorian anyway, when Mando first brings the Beskar that gets melted down and has the Imperial stamp on it. Yeah. So there's been a lot of a love-hate relationship between these two for years at this point. But I think that I think he is not like man, what was his man. You know what? I don't even know how he's related to the other guy from Death Watch.
Yeah.
Previously?
If you hadn't asked me, I would have remembered. But as I mentioned to my kid earlier today, I'm getting old. Things get further and further from my head. I'm like, Trey? No, that's someone else.
No, I think it's
Pre Vizsla.
Yes, it is Pre Vizsla. Because I'm like, wait, is it Pre Vizsla or Tar Vizsla?
Oh, what about Post Vizsla?
Oh my god, no! You know what? No, how dare
That's
you?
his uncle.
How dare you? But no, but like yeah, it was one of those things where I guess they were really trying to differentiate that, Pre Vizsla versus Paz Vizsla. Paz Vizsla is not like him because listen, Pre Vizsla was a dick.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Pre Vizsla was a dick. I don't necessarily feel bad that he got his head chopped off by Darth Maul. Yeah, but I like the fact that they kind of show that he's finally coming around.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Wow. Yeah, I like the fact that they showed he's finally coming around, and yes, see, Rian Johnson. Hey, that's how you subvert expectations. Okay, all right. Not by having Mando throw away the talking stick because no one's listening to him or something like that. No. You have this person who has a love-hate relationship with your main character. Give this speech that makes it seem like he is totally not in support of what is clearly the right move, just because it is a rival of his. And then, he comes away and is like, no. We are going to do this because we are Mandalorian. And this is what we do.
That was nice.
This is the way.
That was a nice bit. Rob, any thoughts on our hoorah, this is the mission, are we all going to take it speeches?
No.
Good. All right.
Hey, wait. No, I've been like saying stuff. So
no, you have. No.
I said post. There's a post thing in there.
No. But yeah, I think that was kind of a cool thing. But again, time, and then they get the plan, and then they are back to Navarro, where we have most of the rest of our kind of big episode. And this was kind of a rollicking good time for me. I have to say, the more I saw it, the more I was falling in love with Sharge Corsair, his little pirate ship. Very cool looking, almost like a blockade runner type kind of idea. I love the big kind of like sharkish front nose. They had one of those in, what was it, in Rogue One, that's used to push the larger ships away, which I thought was awesome for a pirate ship.
Yeah.
I mean, you had an Ugnaught Smee as a first mate, but you've got to have your other Disney references, which was hilarious. I mean, again, I have issues, especially again because Zeb looks so good. The fact that a lot of these pirates looked less than good was kind of the only downside that I had. Most of the lot, I stopped caring about that pretty quick because I thought that the action was really well done. I only have one question, and this is regard to Grief Karga, and maybe you guys have some ideas. No planetary defenses at all. I mean, I'm not expecting like a Golan space station up on the top there, but no gun emplacements in town, no other pilots, no ships. Supposed to be a major transit point trade area. He's got no defenses at all.
He's been too busy working on his wardrobe.
Okay. You got to have goals, and everything has to have a priority list. I can kind of respect
He's out
that.
there looking like Apollo Creed, for real.
Living in America.
If he comes out with red, white, and blue shorts, I'm out. I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to go.
And the top hat. It's got to come out with the top hat too. But honestly speaking, I think that he thought that his reputation and the reputation of Navarro preceded itself so much. It was like, what do I need to spend money on planetary defenses for? I'm Grief Karga. This is Navarro. People know the stories about how the Imperials got kicked out of here. What do I got to worry about?
Leaning on reputation. Okay. I see. I can buy that. It's just, again, priority lists.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Yes.
He also still sees himself as the guy who is running all the bounty hunters, and
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That part of his persona as well, though.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of those things where he's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm Grief Karga."
Yeah,
like bounty hunters come to me looking for work. Like, yeah. Well, what do I have to worry about?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, listen, you know what? Qui-Gon Jinn said it best. There's always a bigger fish. So yeah, all of that Grief Karga means absolute jack shit when I can come hover above your town and blow it to smithereens.
Mm-hmm.
He also said he had a really great feeling about Anakin Skywalker. So,
this boy's the key. Yeah, it's just not in the way that you think. Just not in the way that you think.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
Hey, listen. Remember, at the end of the day, Anakin had a very high M count.
Oh no. Okay. See, now you're crossing in the wrong territory there. All right. Well, but like I said, I think overall this was great. I love the space. I love the ship fights. I love the strategy difference. I love seeing the Mandalorians drop into squads and move through. I mean, very military looking tactics when they were on the ground.
Well, I do have one question now.
Yeah.
How do they get boxed in and they have jetpacks?
How do they which?
How do they get boxed in and they have jetpacks?
That is the Boba Fett maneuver.
Yeah, because you know what? Yes, that also happened in the Book of Boba Fett too. Like, you guys can lift off the ground. Why are you sitting here getting shot at?
I actually had less problems with that because I think at that point they had that upper gun going as well. So it looked like they had high zones. If they went up, they might get picked down. That's the only thing that I would think to kind of go with that. Oddly, at least because they weren't surrounded by shields only, it didn't jump into my mind. I just thought, hey, there's people behind on either way. If we go up, we'll get shot at. But that is an excellent point. There should at least have been one or two that tried that to show that they couldn't do it. I think this is probably one of the downsides of just the necessary plot machinations. They don't do that because we're telling a different story where they don't do that. These people have to go and do all these things and meet these people in this order because we want to see that, not because it's the most logical. Sometimes that just happens. We also got some great armor sneak attack. I love the fact that she fights with her hammers. She is that dedicated to the craft that she will beat the crap out of you with her hammers. And always does that very well. I thought that was super cool. I like seeing that she is still involved and not just sitting back, that she's going to be there as well in the midst of a battle, doing her own thing.
Oh yeah.
This is all Grogu's fault.
It is. Well, he is. Yeah, he wasn't really helping either. What was he doing? He did no force help, nothing like that. Did he even go with them? Was he left back in the covert with one person? Was he in Bo-Katan's ship? Oh no, he was probably in the back with Din. He was probably in the N1. We probably even saw him, and I didn't think about it at all.
Yeah,
I barely thought about them at all in this episode.
Well, no, it couldn't have been because there's still the droid thing in the back there. Ah, well, doesn't matter. He wasn't involved in this. This isn't the Grogu show. We just need to see little moments of him for his cuteness to tide people over, and then we get Mandalorian action.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the look of that. Like, was he like Sigmund and the Sea Monster meets like at a baby with Oscar the Grouch, and I do like green, that design. Yes. It's really interesting. It's like I keep wanting to say that it's a puppet, but
I mean,
because the way the head moves is very puppet like.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably a CGI modified mask. I'm sure it's, a mask a bit, and then they did other things. That'd be my guess, because it's mostly masks or at least prosthetics with at least prosthetic looking with all the pirate characters. So I would guess that it's probably something like that, but I couldn't say for sure. I think it looked cool. To me, it was just, I don't know, maybe it's the lighting, the brightness of it just gave it that almost too comical edge.
Okay.
But you got to have the appeal to everybody on this, so you got to get something for everyone. So I'm fine with that. As I said, I thought his ship was cool, so I went with it. And you had an Ugnaught Smee. So.
Heck yeah.
It's funny. I mean, you guys had mentioned Oscar the Grouch. I was thinking about Toxic Crusader and Toxic Crusader and the Swamp Thing. There we go.
There you go. Oh yeah, nice little dash of old swamp thing there. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. See that. Yeah, like, fangirling here.
Like if Kale came alive.
So I was just mentioning fangirling in the chat. Also loving the armor. Love seeing her kick ass. It's been a while. I completely agree. And while this was a huge chunk, I don't know if there's really that much to talk about it outside of the nice shots, good action.
Looks great.
Now, from this, we do get a new place for the Mandalorians to call home, which I think is cool. They no longer have to hide out on Dinosaur Planet on the Beach of Death. Just a little
They're
safer
just back
place
where
to
they
trip.
were.
But they can be above ground now. They don't have to hide in the sewers.
Oh, so they went from being Morlocks to X-Men. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. See, they're moving on up, you could say, in the world.
But they went from lower decks to the bridge.
There you
Yeah.
see, exactly.
They got their own ship now. All right.
And while we could just guess that, from the lava flats to wherever is a large patch of land for them all, I don't really know because I don't know anything about the layout of Navarro at all.
It's just property that Grief Cargo is going to charge them to work and stuff. He's going to work some angle then. He's going to be like, oh, it's my backyard. You guys happen to just be living in my backyard. Well, you guys can mow the lawn while you're back there,
Well, and, it's like, hey, if you need a security force as well, you got one kind of built in now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of pluses to the move. But maybe they won't be there that long. Maybe not. Because Armor and Bo have a nice little scene here at the end. Pulls her into the old covert location, to the old forge. They have a nice little talk about the old forge in Mandalore, which was a cool little bonding bit for it. And then she asked Bo to take her helmet off, which, I mean, yeah, surprising. I do like that they had the back like, who that and what now?
God, I so wanted her to just be like, ah!
I got you.
Oh, you dummy.
Yeah.
You're never getting the Darksaber back now.
But she does talk about that you can live in both worlds, both that of the Children of the Watch and the rest of the sane Mandalorians, I'm guessing. I mean, not in those so many words, but and also brings up the mythosaur, that this is a statement of we believe, and therefore that Bo is the one. And that's where my question was, is the Armor going to like put this out? Will this be known information, or is this going to be kept literally between the two of them? Because there's just a few things that are kind of brought up here with that. I mean, one, it's definitely an acceptance of Bo-Katan. It's a statement that there are other ways, and there are other ways to live that seem to be okay, especially when she brings her back out without helmet in front of the rest of the Mandalorians. But for a while, we've really seen the covert as kind of cultish, that they are extremes in their views. And even especially last season seemed to be Din breaking away from that system in a way, with taking his helmet off and doing what he needs to do in order to save Grogu and kind of finding his own way forward in the world. I don't know if this is a step back or if they're now going to try and minimize the edge to the Children of the Watch that they had sort of laid groundwork of before. It's just, while, again, I like the unity there. I like the Armor kind of giving Bo a mission, like, we got to get our planet back, and it's up to you to go bring people together, and seeing Bo as the new Mandalore, perhaps. The taking the helmet off and all that, it seems weird to me. And again, I'm not hating it in any way. I'm just more... So I was just wondering if you guys had any kind of thoughts on that. I know we mentioned a little bit of it kind of earlier, but what are you guys thinking? What did you think on seeing this scene and this mission that Bo is now getting?
I was just wondering how many episodes they were going to use to tell it. Like, are they doing what Don thinks is going to happen, which is that we're not going to see her again because it would take too long? But, I mean, I would only give that 50-50 shot odds. I'd say that there's just as easy that they're going to just continue to stay the course with these next 3 episodes and just hammer it home. And we'll get like at least one episode where they run into the opposition of this, where it's like, like, well, she's being cool, and they're going to be like, well, we don't, like maybe those Mandalorians, like. So I don't think we're going to be done with seeing the conflict that the Mandalorians have with each other still, but I think again, it's 20. They're basically 20-minute episodes, so you're going to see a resolution. It's all just going to play out. It's just a matter of how long they're going to take to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I'm more partial that, I mean, contrary to Don's opinion on this, that we are going to see Bo for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
That this is, by the end, is actually going to be landing back or taking back Mandalore, reestablishing some sort of presence on Mandalore, maybe even the Mythosaur fight by the finale. It just feels like that has to be where they're going. This seems to be the season of Mandalore. And
well, then you just tease Moff Gideon at the end as the big bad going into like a final season.
Right.
Because if they're, I mean, honestly, the way that they've done this season, it doesn't feel like they have much interest in continuing it for very long. So, I just from, just being honest, like right now, it just feels like they've, let go, light off the gas just enough for me to go. I could see them, especially the way that they're setting up Moff Gideon. Okay, we're almost there. I'll shut up.
No, this is good. But, well, I mean, there have been discussions with Filoni about how long he expects to see Mandalorian go. And his stated answer has been, I don't see it ending. I see that there are tons of stories to tell with this character going forward and places to go and things to do. So to me, it's not so much that they're willing to get that up, but I think the kind of jagged pace or feel of the season is indicative of they're trying to do as much world building at the moment as they can, and maybe flow of the story is suffering a little bit because of that.
I don't. Yeah, and I also still think that some of this has to do with Pedro Pascal's availability.
Well, they have given release credits in show to the other the two actors that play him most of the time, or stunt performers that play him most of the time, so that really Pedro only has to do voiceover stuff for a lot of this character work, which should minimize the amount of time that he has dedicated. But he is a big growing star, and we see how that has affected some shows in the past, other types of shows.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is Katie Sackhoff isn't a Pedro Pascal, even if she has been around longer.
Sure.
Or at least in our consciousness longer. So keeping the helmet on, doing the voiceover work, they still want a face. These people take our superheroes' masks off most of their movies because they're paying for the moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
They just go, oh, the costume, it doesn't matter, but it does matter to us. And so, but with a Katie Sackhoff character, you can have that face off, have it recognizable. They're saying they are giving you something from Star Wars, but we're just in doing so, we're gonna take away from one character's story more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he has limited voice, even for voice acting sessions, cutting back his role would just make more sense to them. But in doing that, it really takes away from what we felt was the unspoken promise of going into the end of season 2 into season 3, which was the continuing and like, okay, he made this big sacrifice. They came back together. Now let's really do something together. And instead, what we're having is all of a sudden we're not doing their story. Now we're suddenly sidetracked into what, to me, as much as I like it, just this is another show.
Sure.
So like, again, we're mixing shows, or like something that should be something else. There's nothing wrong with having Din as like a starting point, a jumping off point for for those characters to go do what they're doing. But he's supposed to just kind of do his own thing and jump in and out of stories. and on their adventure have like a kind of through line of Moff Gideon after the child. But this just again just feels like continuation of the Clone Wars arc. And again, I'm going on for so long that I'm way like where we started. But
Hey, look, it's just again another example of why we need a Tales of Star Wars series so we can do all these one-off episodes in a condensed place. Don, did you have any thoughts here on our little armor mission here?
oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Um, yeah, so I thought that this was very interesting because she basically paraded Bo-Katan to the rest of the covert. Yeah, she basically paraded them paraded her to the rest of the covert and was basically like, "Hey, yeah, remember the woman that we kind of said was a phony? Well, now that she's been redeemed and she has taken off her helmet before, I'm gonna let her do it again." So that she can bring more people in, so we could have everyone put on their helmets at the same
Oh,
time. And everything.
I see. I see. It's like I'll allow it so we can get others. Okay. See, I would buy that motivation as well. This
Right.
could be whatever. We're going to bring her out so we can then do the real thing later on. She's working with Paz in the background. I see what it is. They're on. No. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I could go with that one at least.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, look, I thought that it was the right thing to do to send Bo-Katan out because, for one, she's already led armies,
Sure.
right? She's well known enough to the Mandalorian people, and the fact that she herself, was Mandalore for a bit. Um, yeah, I mean, she is on a mission. She can like, hey, look, I've seen the actual planet. I bathed it, in the living waters. I saw a mythosaur, you know, and I'm part of a covert now. Like, come on now, she,
Join the cultists. Come on.
so she has a lot of things that are actually going for her
True.
that are good on her resume. But there may still be people who remember from during Clone Wars era her activities as part of Death Watch.
Well, I mean, in some ways, that leads to the next question: is okay, she had her people, and when she didn't come back with the dark saber, she said, and that's how we open this season. They all took off and they're flying on their ship, doing their own thing or whatever. Um, what is it that she's going to be able to bring to them that's any different than where she was before, outside of saying Mandalore's fine, and I got some crazy people that got my back? I mean, are we going to have the fight for the dark saber beforehand? Is Din going to have to go with her in order to be the, hey, I'm the one with the dark saber and this is what we should do, so you should listen to me, which is to listen to her?
Honestly speaking, I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean,
I,
literally, I'm just thinking about this right now of like, yeah, wait a minute, what is she going back with?
right. I mean, again, here you have this big, excuse me, this big area of Navarro dedicated to Mandalorian people. And look, honestly speaking, like Mandalore isn't the place where these people should be based on the look of it. You know, so I'm wondering what her strategy is going to be. Like
Right.
how, like, because again, also remember she had an army, and when she didn't win the dark saber from Moff Gideon, they all
Right.
did. So yeah, I mean, she may have a real uphill battle. For one, again, there could be people who remember her actions from Death Watch. Excuse me. You could have people who do not want anything to do with the children to watch
Right.
whatsoever. And then you also may have those who are just like, look, you know what? I don't want to live that life anymore. Like, yes, I'm a Mandalorian by creed. I'm a Mandalorian, in my blood. I can, trace the chain codes back, 5 generations on my armor.
Right.
But, yeah, you know what? There's no Mandalore worth going back to. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, and what do you do when that's the case?
Well, if there is any positive end, at least I can put to this, and I do want to talk about that last final scene that we have. But the one good thing that makes me feel really positive about the next 3 episodes of what we're going to see is next week's episode is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. And I have loved every episode that she has done. There has been action, there's intrigue. It was the reintroduction of Bo-Katan last season that was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard when they took that ship, the cargo ship, which was all action and fun. So I am really looking forward to what's going to come next here and what we're going to see in next week's episode. Now, a hint, of course, we got of what may be covering up, and this may further in next week, or it may be held until possibly closer to the finale, is our last shot with Carson Teva, I think it's Teva, discovering the abandoned and damaged Lambda shuttle that ended up being the carrier for Moff Gideon. We had rumors that Moff Gideon had escaped or had never made it to trial. I don't know how we found the shuttle. I don't know. Again, it's been 2+ years since end of season 2, so I have no idea when this happened and how long this shuttle has been out there. Again, probably not important questions, maybe just to me.
No.
But it does let us know that Moff Gideon is gone, and that perhaps Mandalorians are involved, as there's a trace of Beskar in the hull inside. And I just think that's a total red herring. I don't think any Mandalorian would be involved in the rescue of the man who glassed Mandalore. That's my personal opinion. I'm thinking this might be more of a new model of Dark Trooper with some of the Beskar that maybe Gideon's people was able to collect. But what do you guys think about this kind of last little scene and its setup? Again, it does let us know that Gideon is at least out there, and then the hint of our Mandalorians involved. Don, what do you think on this one?
Again, interesting. Interesting the way this is all going to go. The Mandalorians right now are a fractured people. The Republic is a fractured place. It is ripe for the First Order to come in and shoot their propaganda to everyone and to make all of their problems disappear. So seeing the what they're doing in terms of the politics and the interplay with these people and different groups and the people that we might meet is a very, very interesting way of them doing things, and I'm here for it because I actually like some of this background stuff where it's not just all about bang bang or pew 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 pew. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can't wait to see how this is going to be taken, especially when you have other Mandalorians and there becomes a culture clash.
Yeah,
that's going to be the kicker because we'll learn more about the exiled Mandalorians, and we'll also learn more about the covert that we've been watching since season one. So that's going to be that to me is going to be one of the most interesting things for later on, is just seeing how these these diverse and disparate peoples, like what's going to happen when you actually put them together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to get that, and of course through that, hopefully get some Clan Ren and my favorite character back, Sabine. Rob, what'd you think about with all this?
I mean, he pretty much covered everything except I just in the scene while I was watching it, I just kept waiting for him to die. I was waiting for some sort of I was waiting.
I
It
hear
just
ya.
felt. It feels like if this was like film noir, right? It'd be the guy who got too close, too quick. The guy who almost solved the whole thing for everybody. The guy who is like, all I got to do is call, and somebody's there. Like, like it really felt like that kind of tension because it just comes at the end when we don't expect it. And it's really fast, so that we're now asking the questions like, how did he get here and all that stuff. But like in the moment, it was to me more like he's out. No one's out there to find him. No one wants this ship to be found. So if you're out here, you're just as easily could go with the rest of them. The only thing that saved him was he was communicating with other people, which was smart. Like that guy saw some like Star Wars horror movies, I guess. Like whatever they watch for horror movies on their vid channels and stuff. That guy was like, I know the first guy who goes out into space to discover something, he's the guy who's gonna die. So he's like, I'm gonna at least be on the phone with my friend, making sure they're like, there's evidence here in case I get killed out here.
Yeah.
Real quick, if I can.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard this rumor that basically they have killed off Cara Dune off screen, and that was where she was? Because remember, Grief Karga did say that Moff Gideon was supposed to that Cara Dune was supposed to have been escorting Moff Gideon to his trial. He never made a trial.
Oh, I didn't remember him saying that. I remember him saying like special forces grabbed her or something like, but I didn't remember mentioning specifically Gideon. But that would be an interesting way to get rid of the character if they want. Though, I mean, personally, I kind of like the idea that she's just off in some other part of the galaxy. We don't need to see her again. Again, not so much about with the.
She left. She somehow got lost. She ended up on Earth. Now she makes really bad movies with some guy named Ben.
Yeah. That happens. It's one of those space warp Rosen-Einstein bridges or something.
Yeah. So Cara Dune's alive and well and living in Hollywood.
Yeah, probably back in Texas by now, but yeah.
True.
Wherever.
It's cheaper housing out there. Trust me, it's expensive as all hell out here. I'm never going to own a home unless I hit the lottery. The guy who won like $2 billion in the Powerball won it like at a gas station just down the street from me.
Jeez.
I'm so bummed. Could have been me. Actually, I don't buy lottery tickets at that gas station, so probably not.
Where do you get your lottery? Like you go to some place where only royalty buys tickets?
That's right. That's the only place.
Are you above the convenience store, Darren?
From
Answer the question. Sorry.
No. Royale with beer. That's where I get mine. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, I like the idea. I like the fact that at least it does put the Gideon is out there. I would be curious if they end up putting Cara Dune inside this Lambda shuttle. That would, in a way, make sense.
Is it a Lambda shuttle?
It's just the one Lambda. It's not full nerd yet, but almost.
Okay.
Yeah, fangirling and loving it. Also worried about Carson in the next few episodes. Definitely right in lines with you there, Rob. That looks like something was about to happen to him. I think they've established the character too much as being like the one connection the Mandalorian has with the New Republic that would make me doubtful that they would do that. But
he's just racking up the miles, though, isn't he?
All he by himself. He's everywhere that he has to be. He's like MasterCard.
Yeah. I thought it was Visa, but okay.
Is that Visa? Is that Visa? I'm sorry. It's been a while since those. Again, I'm hitting all the old references, folks. You can date me right here from my references. Anyway, but yeah, I think that that pretty much covers it all. We've got Bo going out to round up the rest of the Mandalorians. How we're going to do that, I think that's going to be an expected bit. We have one escaped pirate who may or may not end up being trouble. We have news that Moff Gideon is out there, but will we even see him at all this season? Also very questionable. It really comes down to mythosaur or not, I think, for this season. But we got 3 more episodes, and if they keep them focused, I think we can cover a lot of ground and really end this season on a pretty strong high note. I'm hopeful, at least. But any final thoughts or comments before we get out of here, guys?
No. I mean, I got plenty. We could keep going, so let's just not.
We're already at 1 hour and 15 minutes, so it's been a long discussion with this one. But I again, I think this episode at least brought up some interesting thoughts and ideas, which I was kind of excited about. I like the lore.
Definitely. For me, no, I don't really have much to say. I think this was one of those discussions where we left it all on the floor. Look, I understand that there's hiccups with this show right now because they basically have Iron Man 2'd this season. Where it's like, yeah, we had the skeleton of a good story here, but we got all this other stuff we have to set up for. So, now we got to shoehorn outside factors into it, and now it kind of takes away from what we should be doing and focusing on as an achievement, or I should say as a goal. So yeah, it's just kind of weird seeing them make certain choices with how they're putting the story together. But you know what? I want to see more of Elia Kane because I've liked her ever since she was in season 2. So more Elia Kane for me is good because I just want to see her, like, why is she loyal to Moff Gideon? Is it, why is she loyal to the Imperial way of doing things? Also, I want to see what sets each Mandalorian covert apart from the other.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for me. Is seeing like, okay, Bo-Katan has been sent on this mission, but I'm going to say with only 3 episodes left, they got too much ground that they need to cover to worry about bringing back Bo-Katan this season.
Yeah. Well, again, entirely true. I guess that's the hard part. It's hard to really see where they're going and aiming to end up for this season. But yeah, we got 3 more episodes to find out. So, and we'll be back here every Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, with this 3 group of fans talking all about the Mandalorian. I guess we'll just say bye then. Anybody want to say anything of what they're doing? Anything?
No, every time I make a video, I go, how can anybody take a man seriously with a mattress sitting in the back? But sorry, folks, there's only so many places I can film right now. But you can find me here. You can find me at Smirking Reviews and Smirking Reviews Classics, where I did finally put a video up there for a new Rob's never seen for a classic movie. That movie would be Rocky. I had never seen it, so I talked about it. You can check it out on Smirking Reviews Classics. Otherwise, Smirking Reviews is still doing stuff. I did just put up my C2E2 Day 1 video that went up probably right before this we actually went on. Otherwise, you can find me on Smirking Rob Plays on Twitch, where we're playing whatever.
Things.
And there should be some more. There might be some more C2E2 stuff tomorrow or the next day. And yeah.
Excellent. Don?
Let's see. You can find me on Twitter at idonwillie. That's IDONWILLI. And of course, you can find me here every week with these two guys talking Star Wars and whatever nerdy stuff we decide to get into. If you want to check out my channel for some classic Game of Thrones content, you can see me. You can find me on YouTube at Adon. Excuse me, at Dawn of Ice and Fire. And sorry, I am getting over a cold, so yeah, you know.
Well, I'm glad you're able to make it through the episode with us, Don. It was always great hearing your opinions and views on all this. And I want to leave with the final thought of that we finally have a premiere date for Secret Invasion. It's skipping spring altogether and going straight to the first day of summer. It's June 21st. We'll be premiering on Disney Plus. So we got another couple of months. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm hoping that they use the time to just tweak it and perfect and make it all beautiful and awesome looking. So yeah, after this is done, we'll take a little break and then we'll be back for Secret Invasion. But we'll be here for another 3 more weeks. Like I said, Friday nights with this guy and this guy right here. I can't see him doing it wrong. With both of these guys. And me.
Hey, I got almost lost in a tornado, so I could have been anywhere, really. So it's pretty fitting. Some of them's over there, some of them's over there.
You know, you made it through the broadcast, so that's what.
Yes, I did. It's amazing.
About. All right, Jill. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.